This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. Parental discretion is advised.
There are so many streaming TV series.
So many channels.
I have a stream.
I just don't know which one to watch.
Is this show worth our time?
I have a stream.
I'm 3 seasons behind already. Is it even worth catching up?
I have a stream.
What's the series about? Well, my wife liked it too.
I have a stream.
What channel is it on? And who's in it?
I have a stream.
I want to watch something new, something original.
I have a stream.
I want to watch something that's action-packed.
I have a stream.
What's happening, barflies? This is Bears Barroom Radio Network and the I Have a Stream podcast, a streaming TV series review podcast. I'm John Santucci. Call me Tooch. Joey Mandel, Joey Two Scoops. He is on vacation. He is booting up and launching the new Shy Fans in the Stands podcast with Greg Braggs Jr., which airs tonight, Tuesday, July 23rd. With me tonight is Aaron Mikulski. Aaron, how you doing?
Not too bad, sir. Happy to be here on Bears Barroom, and I have a stream. How are you doing?
Doing great. How about my usual?
Absolutely. Coming right up, sir. Whiskey or two? Scotch or whiskey guy?
Let's have some bourbon, 2 fingers, 2 rocks.
Okay, 2 fingers, 2 rocks coming right up. The ice is filled, sir. We are ready to rock and roll, and good for you.
The ice cube tray is filled tonight.
That's crucial.
Very
it's got to always
good.
be filled for you.
And Aaron,
Absolutely.
grab yourself something to drink. All those said drinks are on the house.
Man, we are got the taps running. I'm gonna go with Guinness Draft because it's always
All right.
good from a tap. Good to be tap, or it's got to be from a.
Got it in the can tonight. Let me get that for
All
you.
right. Listen to that. Absolutely good stuff.
All right. Well, let's bring in our first guest, Aaron, and we're going to welcome him barroom style.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as the platinum-piped voice of Bears Barroom. But little did you know, when it comes to lovemaking, this guy is known as the man who unites nations. This guy knows more about Chicago Bears football and television than Jason La Canfora does about being wrong all the time. Everyone, get out of your seats, especially all the ladies, and give it up for me? Seriously, for me! I'm Dan Aguire. And don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, ladies.
Dan Aguire.
Dan Aguire. I'm shouting you out.
Great guy.
And it's Dan Aguire. Danny, how are you doing?
I am well, and I want a shot of your strongest vodka, sir.
All right,
Coming
Aaron.
right up for you.
Very well. I'm ready to go. What are we talking about first?
Great. Tonight, we're going to talk a little, what are you watching and how's it going for you? And then we'll do the news. And then we'll hit up Euphoria, Season 1, Episode 6. So let's start with Aaron. Aaron, what are you watching and how's it going for you?
I haven't got too far into it. I actually get up pretty early in the morning and try and watch something. On Netflix, it's something I think we've mentioned in the past. Have you heard of the show Dark? I'm pretty sure it's a German show. There's subtitles on it, and it sounds like people are going missing. And it seems like it happens on a recurring basis. I think the show said every 33 years somebody goes missing.
Yeah, I watched season 1. Season 2 just came out. Yeah, season 1 is great.
Okay, killer. Yep, I'm just starting that one.
I didn't watch it with subtitles. I have a closed captioning on, and I had the dubbed version, which just adds a little kind of humor. Sure. I kind of like the dubbing and stuff.
I can do that with old movies making fun of it, but if I'm actually trying to get invested and the lips don't match what's coming out of their mouths, it drives me nuts. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's actually a series I really enjoyed. It's got the time travel aspect to it, where you know, the kid's brother goes back in time and becomes his father or something like that. I can't remember exactly. If you go back to
Nope. For sure. No, I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah. So it's good. It's interesting, you know, and the characters, older versions of themselves pop up to come back. You know, they're strangers, but they're actually, you know, people from the original 33 years ago that have come back through a doorway beneath a nuclear power plant. So it's like German Stranger Things without the annoying kids that Dan Aguire hates.
Yes, I knew.
No, for sure. Well, hell, I mean, you've got even more into the show. I don't even think I finished the episode.
Are you in season 1?
I literally just started it like this morning. Yeah. Okay. So I'm digging into it, but I'm really enjoying what I've seen so far. But now I'm more excited.
Right now, I just started the OA on Netflix, which was recommended to me by Draft Dr. Phil. And I really am enjoying it. It's very good, man, if you get a chance to watch that one. I'm only 2 or 3 episodes in, but it's very intriguing, and the characters are interesting. So it's I haven't figured out what's going on yet. A woman disappears and comes back 7 years later. She's disappeared as a teenager. Yeah,
that seems to be a recurring theme. Later.
Yeah, it's another one of these people are coming. She's got some great tales, you know. She comes back, she got all these, like, they look like scars on her back, but they also look kind of like a design, you know. So that's unexplained, but it's very interesting. And I like it. Dr. Phil recommended it to me, Draft Dr. Phil, and I gotta tell you, I'm enjoying it so far. And then Danny, what are you watching?
If you don't mind me saying one thing first.
Yeah.
They did the live 100 proof a few weeks ago.
Yes, and you're on it.
You were brought up. They said that you were comparing Phil to Guido the Killer Pimp, and I think that's a risky business reference, is it not?
Correct. His voice.
They didn't know. I was like, risky bit. Tom Cruise. You don't know risky business?
Right. Yeah. No, it is. His voice sounds to me like Joe Pantoliano from Risky Business.
Yeah, and The Matrix, The Sopranos.
Right. Exactly.
I couldn't believe they didn't know that reference. But to answer your question, I don't have anything new that I'm watching right now, so I want to foreshadow, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to be on a couple of times now, so I'm not watching anything new presently. But next Saturday, I've got tickets. I already bought them for the new Tarantino movie that opens this weekend. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm stoked.
Just talking about that.
Yeah.
And in terms of a show, and again, on paper, this would be something you'd say, oh, that's for a female demographic, but I really recommend it. The final season of The Affair starts August the 25th. It's a Showtime show. If you've never seen The Affair, what the cool thing is, like, for example, going back to the first season, obviously it's based upon adultery at one point. But you would see, like, the first 30 minutes of the show would be from one character's perspective, and then, like, maybe the guy that's involved in the affair, and then the next half will be from the girl's perspective. It would be things like, in the guy's perspective, maybe her tits are out and her skirt's really short, and she, like, wants to give him head, and then in her version, she's wearing jogging pants and she's on her period. You know what I mean? Little subtle things like that. But not everything is contradictory, but a lot of things are like that.
There's an X-Files episode like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? Where
the sheriff had buck teeth.
Yeah, and then slowly came in and said something. That's what I thought of when he was talking about that.
Mulder, imagine she's like the sheriff is really hot. Mulder's telling the story. He comes in, he's got buck teeth. It was Luke Wilson. He's like, hey, how's it going? He could barely talk because of his buck teeth.
Yeah.
Who's in the affair? I don't know that one.
God, what is his name? Let me look up the cast quickly just on my phone. I can't think of the guy's name. I really like him as an actor too, like from The Affair. I didn't know him before.
Dominic West?
Yeah, his name's West.
Wasn't he in The Wire?
I never saw Dominic West is his name. I didn't see The Wire.
Okay.
Ruth Wilson was in it. It's a really good show, man. Like I said, I think the demo's probably toward women, but I really strongly recommend it. I think it's a good show.
Cool.
He's a good actor, actually. He was the thing that blew me away too is he was Jigsaw in Punisher Warzone. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. That's the one with okay, now it's my turn to have a blank.
Grillo.
No, who is the big dude? Ray Stevenson. That was the one. Ray Stevenson was the Punisher. So
wow, nice.
Yep, he was really good in that too.
Excellent. So Dan, you and I are also watching something on HBO. We're going to talk about briefly here because it was so controversial, and it's called "I Love You Now Die." And I just finished episode 2. This is a 2-part documentary on HBO. And it's about the suicidal teen who texts with a girl who encourages him to kill himself. And I'll let you start talking about, Dan. What'd you think of "I Love You Now Die"?
Okay, first off the top, being someone that is somewhat politically astute, I'd like to think. After they showed the kid when from jumping to the end, we'll Tarantino it and come back to the beginning. But she looks like Hillary Clinton when she cuts all of her hair off. Is that just me? Like when they
a little bit.
Yeah, she looks like a young Hillary Clinton with crazy eyebrows. But okay. I think a lot of people that I've spoken to about this documentary or the case in general all had including myself, mind you, had a preconceived notion that like, what a bitch, and like she deserves the worst. And I think I went into it the same feeling of like, just again with vitriol toward her. But as I watched the 2 documentaries I watched them back to back, like within a 3-hour span or whatever. But before that was over, I was completely on her side. And I could just keep going unless you want to jump in. I mean,
no, they set it up that way. Absolutely, they set it up that way. The way they start telling the story in part 1, they this is a girl who doesn't really have any friends, and all these text messages are like, "You can do it, babe, kill yourself." It's just, and then of course the interviews with the boys' family, the parents are just like, "Can't believe this person could be so evil," and by the end of the first episode, you're just like, this girl is pure evil, who would do something like this? It's sociopathic, psychopathic. And by the end of the second episode, you're like, this girl should not be in jail because this dude was fucked up. The boy was suicidal for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
They both were really messed up. And the main thing I took away from it was that they both lived in a sort of fantasy world of, this relationship. And it was virtually only a relationship in text.
I have so many things I want to say about it, but if you don't mind me jumping in, I just
jump in.
I want to go back and forth and not just like give you my 5-minute summation all at the one time.
Yeah, but absolutely.
Based upon what you just said there, that was something I was questioning while watching it. Again, I can only go from my own experiences of being 16, 17. If I thought I was dating somebody, it's so weird. I know that, look, my girlfriend when I was in high school lived about 35 minutes from me. We went to the same school, but school consolidation, My point is, it wasn't easy to go to her house sometimes when you didn't have a license yet, but I still managed to go see her, and I still managed to be extremely sexually active. Now, that's my point. If they are in a I love you kind of relationship, and they've been talking for years, and you see that, and they keep going back and forth about how they really do love each other, and I'm not doubting that, and they're really only like 45 minutes or an hour away, how come they weren't fucking? I mean, were they fucking? I mean,
they only saw each other like 5 times. That in itself is really strange to me.
Yeah, like I said, it was a fantasy world. They believed that they were, doing what normal teenagers do. For me, it begs the question for kids these days that the phones control such a big part of their lives. Smartphones and text messaging, and these 2 kids were, living in their world of their smartphone. I've got a boyfriend. I wake up to his messages every day, but they never they never had any physical connection. They never.
Now, is that a fact, or are we projecting that? Do we know that they didn't? Has it been said that they never had sex?
They met like 6 or 7 times in person only over those years from.
It only takes once.
16 to 18, and they were like. There were a few text messages like where they talked about doing it, and they just left the boy I think was just like, really, we're gonna do it, finally, or whatever. But I don't think they ever did. I don't know if they never said one way or the other. But in the beginning, the girl was just like trying to stop him from committing suicide. But this was an everyday thing for him, and he wasn't telling his parents. He didn't try to get help. He just dumped all of this negative emotion on the girl, right, Dan?
I want to expand on that point too. But one more from what you were saying about the fantasy of it all.
Yeah.
The documentary was referencing a show that I've never watched.
Yes.
So I didn't retain a lot of like what that exactly meant, but they said she was like fixated with the show Glee.
Glee. And that's a show I never watched either, but it was very popular with high school kids when it was out. I know that, and she was pretending she was the girl from Glee. It was with the boy who was suicidal. She was repeating lines from the show to him.
Well, so let me go to what you were just saying a moment ago, and with that part in mind with Glee. Sorry about the popping pee. My boss here hates that, though. But anyway, the fact that I think this goes back at least 2 years off the top of my head, because I watched these like 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yes.
But I think their text had begun in like 2012, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Yep.
So you got 2 years of her just being inundated, just overwhelmed emotionally by this guy every day, seemingly talking about killing himself.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, that's where you can almost start to have empathy for her character, is that maybe there's a little bit, and maybe I'm projecting something that I want from her. It just seems like that after hearing this for like 2-3 years, and he's basically saying like, look, I can't tell anybody this. You're the only person that I can convey my thoughts to, and I really want to die so badly. And maybe so she's thinking at the time, the worst message was like, get back in there, when he was about to kill himself. So maybe she was saying, no, I do love you, and I'm the only person that will help you achieve your goal. And in a weird way, she thought that she was actually helping him achieve that goal, but not necessarily with malice, but from a place of like, I do care about this guy, and he's obviously miserable. He is just incessantly telling me that he wants to die.
Yeah, so, for me, it's something I couldn't. The kid was a handsome kid. What did he have to die? What was he how bad could it be, Dan? Really?
Well, yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying is, but if it wasn't this girl, I think he would have done this to somebody else. And with all that in mind, it kind of baffled me that the court ruled the way that they did.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I was looking over this, and it says, the defense has tried to get the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, to hear this case, which if they do, I think they'll probably make her serve her time before they hear it, because she's already 5 months into a 1.5 sentence off the top of my head. But one of the arguments in the brief that was filed by the defense team said that it was unprecedented, that this violated her First Amendment rights for speech, but moreover, that Massachusetts was the only state ever to rule this type of when the defendant absolutely wasn't present at the time of the crime of this man. Involuntary manslaughter is what she was convicted of, right? But they said that she absolutely wasn't present at the time of the crime or the suicide, with words alone, and that's never been it's a new precedent. It's never happened in any of the other 50 states. And they said that violated her Fifth Amendment rights. So, again, I'm not the attorney, but it seems like in the end that they probably I think if they take the case, they probably will rule in her favor.
I agree.
So that other people don't get this bullshit charge on them. But I think the Carter kid, is going to have to serve her time first, and who knows where she goes from there.
You know, I'm going to jump in here real quick. That makes you wonder too, with younger people or children, teenage tweens, whatever you want to say, with, like you guys were mentioning, with relationships, and was that actually love if they only met 7 times? I absolutely agree that they've set a precedent here, but it's one of those things. Unfortunately, hopefully this kind of thing doesn't continue, but you have to wonder, you know, with depression rates going up and real life relationships going down, you kind of wonder if if this kind of thing isn't going to be a one-off situation where it's only going to happen once.
Well,
so you sure that kind of stuff's weighing on their shoulders too, where they realize, you know, it's like, well, we're not only are we dealing with this, but like you mentioned, we are setting a potential precedent for something like this in the future.
Well, we need to get Trey busy in here and let's talk it out.
It does feel like this is a new age crime, though. So not a crime, but a new age.
To say that.
It seems like something like is going to be a big deal as we, our generation of people, start to die off. You know,
right? Did you both see Minority Report with Tom Cruise?
I know the premise.
The pre-crime division. So this is kind of like, in my opinion, the trial court erred, but I think they erred with good intentions, and they wanted to prevent future cases like this from happening. Mm-hmm. You know, where they could set a precedent, like Aaron was saying, it is a precedent. But in my opinion, like Dan said, it wasn't the girl's fault. You know, this case it was the wrong. Yeah, they should put a crime on the books, but after she is set free. You know, because he created the situation of his own demise. He rigged up the car. He did everything to put himself in the position where he was going to commit suicidal. Her texts after years and years. I think, Dan, I don't remember the exact number, but over 2 years, I think they sent 42,000 text messages or something.
Imagine
the text messages per day.
Imagine getting that just plethora of text messages every day from someone that I assume you do care about, telling you want to die every day. And we know from listening to the defense, she was struggling with her own mental ailments and was on antidepressants and things. Yeah. Now, I think I liked how our defense team, like the attorney actually was hugging her.
He had a great argument. Yeah, he had a great argument too.
It felt like he really did care. Most attorneys just want your money, but he was like hugging the kid and was like so saddened when she lost. But one of the arguments I thought that they made that kind of didn't hold any water was to say that she was somehow a greater risk at the time because she was depressed too. And I think when you try to make her the victim on her own merit, I think that's where he maybe lost that judge a little bit. I would have focused on the psychological abuse that the guy imposed on her.
Yeah, I agree.
A good point.
I agree, because that was the crux of it. You know, I mean, like, and all they had to do really was put up the argument that she, at the outset of their text messaging, she wasn't in favor of him committing himself. I'm sure she was browbeaten to death over him trying to kill. Finally, like, yeah, okay, babe, let's do it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. But I know it was like, I mean, this girl was medicated at age 14 on Prozac, and that's just wrong.
Well, shit. I mean, that's another thing going back to the youth of today, the technology and relationships, and now, you know, the mental disorders or diagnoses, and then just slinging pills at these kids at the same time. You know, it's one of those, you hate to see it, but this is not going to be a one-off thing, in my opinion. As horrible as to say, it's going to be, you know, that's what makes this case so much more important. Is setting that, again, use the word fourth time, the precedent is it's something, an unfortunate, like Dan said, a new generation kind of a crime or incident, if you will.
I just think that I'd like to harp on the point that I just made, not to belabor it, but I feel like it was too overbroad to come out and say, well, because she's on this medication, it could have clouded her judgment. I would have, again, focused on her judgment being clouded by the guy just pounding her in the fucking dirt with all of his negativity constantly. That is a form of mental cruelty.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, for sure.
I totally agree. Yeah.
You know, just
I hope she
attention
gets
seeking
set
around.
free, but I'll tell you, after the first episode, I was like, this bitch should burn in the electric chair. But
Well,
I mean,
hell,
that's the way
even
they set it up.
when you guys were discussing it, I was just like, you know, I saw a trailer. I was like, this chick is rotten. She just did it for the attention. But then listening to Dan, I'm like, oh, fuck, there's a whole nother side of this. And I'm going to have to watch it myself. But just like listening to Dan, I'm just kind of feeling for her in the whole situation.
And the judge, I don't mean to give you a spoiler then if you're going to watch it, but the judge, and again, this is off the top of my head from like 3 weeks ago, but the judge says something in his, because for some reason the defense ruled that they didn't have a jury, and it was the judge had sole authority on what was going to happen. I don't know why the defense went that way, but they did. I'm not saying it was a mistake. I just don't understand why that was an indication of something that could happen or why it did happen. But anyway, the judge was saying, like, essentially, as he was doing the ruling, he was like, well, I don't think she was responsible. I don't think it was her fault until she said, get back into the vehicle. So he was basically saying all of this shit, none of it. He was building the case to say she's innocent. And then he was just like, aha. But the swerve is she did tell him to get back in the vehicle. So now by definition, she is responsible. So, I mean, it just
manslaughter,
not. I mean, that's my thing. She didn't force him in there. Like, that's the thing that kills me. And it's funny because I can't remember the name of the show, but there was one thing where it's super vague, and I apologize, but it was a crime show, and they were trying to put this girl on trial for the death of another dude. Now, the dude had some weird fantasies where she treated him like a baby, and she like ended up giving him LSD and drugging him and telling him he can fly, and he like jumped out of a window. So the whole premise was, can you convict somebody for cheerleading? And she ended up getting set free. So and I can't remember the name of the show or any more than that. I apologize, but that's what's making this. That's what it was. She didn't kick his ass into the car. She didn't hold him at gunpoint. She said something. He made the conscious decision to do that thing, whether obviously not in the right state of mind to make the better choice of the two, I would think. But I mean, she did not force him into it. That's my 2 cents on the thing.
Well, with the show that you're talking about there, was the girl convicted?
I don't believe it was a fiction show, but I don't believe that she was, because it's one of those, you know, just the situation kind of was reminiscent of what it is you're talking about, but it was like, we can't really convict her for cheerleading.
Coming full circle, going back to I was referencing the Quentin Tarantino movie, it's going to talk a little bit about the Manson family. That's sort of like what I've always thought about. I never understood the notoriety or like the worship of Charles Manson. I was like, the dude didn't do anything, but having said that, it's very similar.
Same case.
Yeah, it's very similar. Like he just fed a couple teenagers some LSD. Maybe he cheerleaded them on, but he didn't commit the crimes himself.
Exactly.
I've never understood why he was viewed as some like great serial killer, but not that any serial killer should be.
I thought that he did do something, though. I thought that he did.
He wasn't even there.
The
he
guy
wasn't even there.
The guy named Tex.
He sent 2 girls and a guy out to kill people.
The guy named Tex should be the one that everyone like looks at as like the cool serial killer. He's the one that had got his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Like Manson just fucked a bunch of teenagers at 35 and got them high. I mean,
that's such a crime.
You have to rebel against the rich white pigs. You know, send them out to kill some randos.
Yeah, he was talking about like wanting to join. It's like he wanted to join the Beach Boys, which in itself again is strange.
Right. He was a musician.
Well, no, because they stole one of his songs or something like that, wouldn't it?
Or they didn't let him in the band, so he's like, well, let's kill Sharon Tate. I mean,
it's a logical conclusion.
And you know what's even weirder is that her husband at the time, Roman Polanski, then eventually, allegedly, sodomized a teenager and can't even come into the country.
Yeah, he took off to France.
And so
they haven't extradited him from there. So
so he's a pervert like Manson, allegedly.
Right.
I guess Manson was at least fucking kids. I mean, 18-year-olds at least.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my point is, with all of this, it's kind of the same situation where the person really didn't do anything, but they are kind of convicted over of their
the influence.
Yeah, their mental influence with their words.
Yeah, was Manson more than just a Svengali who had mental powers over young people and could get them to commit crimes? Yeah, I don't even know if he'd get convicted today. You know, were Manson's case to go in front of a judge or jury.
But it's just like he acted so stupid in front of parole hearings and was always like talking in tongues and just trying to act bizarre, you know?
He should have been in a mental institution,
really.
That's
what I was trying to say. Yeah, he's just fucking nuts, man. I think he liked the attention, like it was a show.
Oh, God, yes. Well, yeah.
For sure. A lot like Ted Bundy.
They showed the clips of him after the interview, and he's like posing for pictures. He's like, all right, everybody, come on in here, and he's completely coherent and knows what he's. Yeah, no, I mean that's just the thing is he acted like this batshit crazy murderer, you know, but the second the cameras were off, he kind of just sat there and he was coherent and he was joking with everybody and taking pictures. Like it was absolutely an act.
So are we saying that Charles Manson and the Carter kid from this, Michelle Carter, are both basically self-absorbed narcissists?
Well, Manson
doesn't mean
sure.
they're killers.
The girl, she was just a teenager. I know she had some issues with, she was heavily medicated, but didn't have a lot of friends, but definitely not a killer and definitely not a Svengali.
Yeah, that's one thing we should touch on, too. The documentary made such a huge... First off, we also should mention that her family wasn't represented in the documentary. So,
yes, they refused to partake.
Right. So, but the boy's family, the victim's family, presumed victim's family, Conrad, I can't think of his name.
Conrad Roy and his father and his grandfather were all named Conrad Roy.
So he's Conrad the Third.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, Conrad the Third. Yep.
CJ3.
They had a charity baseball game.
Right. She organized a softball game after death.
And they all vilified her because she did it in her town versus his town. And I thought, is that really that big of a deal? But the documentary kind of the family thought it was this huge deal. See, she's a fucking, she's a narcissist. Everything's about her, and she's a terrible person. Mm-hmm. But she organizes a charity softball game in her town. I thought is that really that big of a deal?
Yeah. Her face was too small for her head. I think that was the one complaint I had. Was the girl. Sometimes she was cute, but she had a very small face on a larger head.
Her eyebrows look
her eyebrows were straight, long black lines.
Yeah. No, the eyebrows are what threw me off.
I think she died.
Picking on the poor kid now, but
it looked like she colored them or dyed them before she went to jail, and they made them lighter.
Yeah, probably.
But as in court, they looked crazy though. They looked like the ones that Joe Pesci's character glued on in JFK because he was losing his hair from cancer.
Great movie, Danny Ferry.
Yeah, exactly.
David Ferry. Sorry, David Ferry.
Well,
not
David Ferry's character
player was Danny Ferry.
Yeah, Danny Ferry is the guy that Michael Jordan hated at this time with the Cavs. But when they were, David Ferry's character had cancer, so he had all these glued on eyebrows and shit. It looked like that girl's. I thought that's what I thought it was. David Ferry.
All right. Well, Dan and I both recommend "I Love You Now Die" just at least to get the thought of what sort of decision would you make? Were you the judge? I would have let the gal off. I don't think she was at fault after reviewing the entire case in its entirety. Like Dan, I don't remember, Dan, you and I were talking offline, and you said, I can't believe she's in jail. And I just watched the first episode. I was like, what's he talking about? Man, this chick was evil. It's on HBO. It's one of the great, HBO does some great documentaries right now. It's called "I Love You Now Die." Great.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before you segue into the other. For some reason, it just made me manifest the thought of Casey Anthony. I'm not sure why, but she still kind of has the OJ thing where people just hate them because they feel like they got away with something. Sure. This kid is only going to do, in theory, it's easy for me to say only, but she's going to do a year and a half in jail, which again is terrible because, again, we all agree she probably didn't deserve it. But when she gets out, is she just going to be looked upon as someone that's a monster, even though she served a little bit of time? Because is she going to be hated like Casey Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think 100%. It's one of those things. Hell, too. How many times we just saw the trailer or you were telling me the premise of the show, and I automatically had her condemned in my head. you know, it's
She'll
like
be,
this bitch is evil. She's a terrible person, but like learning the facts, I'm like, okay, maybe not so much. But how many people are going to get past that and do the research and learn the facts before they start slapping labels and pointing fingers?
Would it behoove her to do an interview like a Dr. Phil kind of thing? Not draft Dr. Phil, like real Dr. Phil.
Yeah,
well, hell, draft Dr. Phil. If
it might help you.
Draft Dr. Phil would be great for it too.
She'll be slightly less hated than Cody Parkey, who also did a talk show.
How about an Oprah interview?
Yeah, that would help her, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if the Michael Jackson accusers can do Oprah, I mean, why not this kid? You know,
she won't get cut from the Bears for missing a field goal in a playoff game either. But speaking of Bears, we're 16 days away from the first preseason game against the Panthers, and if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can watch All or Nothing with the Carolina Panthers this season, and maybe we'll see a little bit of that Bears preseason, their first preseason game against the Panthers. So,
and maybe we can see a
All or Nothing on Amazon Prime.
Maybe we can see a tight end that we should have never traded in Greg Olsen.
Oh man,
I don't want to see that. You know what's funny is I actually funny little story here. I actually went to a high school where his uncle was a PE teacher, gym teacher.
Cool.
Here and actually, I grew up in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and everybody's like, "What the hell is his uncle?" And he had a thick, I think, where's he from initially? Massachusetts, New Jersey. No, he's got a thick New Jersey accent. Yeah, so it was one of those things too that he was my gym teacher and the draft day was coming up, and he's like, "Who's your Bears pick?" And I was like, "Well, I'm hoping Greg Olsen." And just Coach Olsen, I had no idea. He's like, "Oh, my nephew." I was like, "Bullshit!" I didn't say that because in high school, but yeah, sure as shit, found out that that's actually his nephew, and like I, taught by his uncle. Just a little small claim to fame there.
No, that's awesome. I don't want to ignore how awesome that is. I'm not being facetious at all. Not being facetious at all. Yeah. But I always thought about it this way, and it's easy to say, "Oh, it was a stupid trade." Now, but I said that then for the simple point that if we're saying that Jay's too moody, and he's aloof, and he's not gregarious enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then why are you trading the guy that appears to be his best friend on the team?
Sure.
I know.
Yeah.
And the guy that obviously performs well and seems to be the guy that would be almost his surrogate, like mouthpiece, like the guy that could help him. He was also the best
receiver on the team at
That's
the
what I'm
time.
saying. He's performing well.
God, I know.
He's performing well.
They brought in his other best friend, Brandon Marshall, later.
Yeah.
That worked out real well.
Hey, B-Marsh says that Jay hasn't talked to him since the night, his last Bear game.
Oh, seriously?
Where they played the Cowboys, and he got his ribs hurt or something. He went to the hospital, if you remember. He got injured.
Right.
Yeah, he claims that he basically called Cutler out in front of the whole locker room in 2014, and Jay was like, "I'm fucking done with you. I'm sick of your shit."
God.
Yeah, but he claims that Cutler hasn't spoken to him. He said that on like Inside the NFL or something, maybe during Jay's year in Miami. I heard him say that.
Right, and Brandon Marshall, of course, was doing TV spots during a season with the Bears, flying to New York.
It's still crazy to me that they rated Alshon Jeffrey higher on the Bears' top 100 list than Marshall, because Marshall statistically was the best Bears receiver ever. Statistically,
yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. I mean, and they didn't have Curtis Conway in the top 100 either. I mean. Damn, I would have Jeff Graham in there over Alshon Jeffrey, but anyway, we can talk about that in the rest of the show if you want to.
Dude, I know.
We should get into a little news, and filling in for Joey Two Scoops is Aaron Mikulski.
No, Joey Two Scoops would have got Aaron Redbeard. So
the son of Tormund is going to deliver the news.
Tormund Jr. So the first little bit of news we got is Netflix original series called Another Life. It's been reviewed as starting off like the 2016 sci-fi film Arrival, and moves into a series more reminiscent of Star Trek. Another Life is a mashup of plots between Denis Villeneuve's Arrival and sci-fi original show Night Flyers, which unfortunately only lasted for one season. The show is set in a relatively near future. Humanity's developed spaceships that can travel faster than the speed of light, and technology puts people in stasis for long periods of time. The series is stars Katie Sackhoff of Battlestar Galactica fame, as well as Tyler Hoechlin, who starred in Teen Wolf and Supergirl. The series premieres on July 25th, so just a couple of days from when we're recording this on Netflix, and there will be 10 episodes in the first season.
Very cool, man. All right,
That is exciting. I
Katie
love
Sackhoff.
that kind of
I don't
stuff.
know if you saw. I first saw her, or heard of her in Riddick, the movie just called Riddick.
Sure. Yeah.
With Vin Diesel. This is the third Riddick movie. Pitch Black, then The Chronicles of Riddick, and then Riddick, which the third one I think was the best one. Man, it was cool.
Agreed.
And,
No, for sure.
Kate Sackhoff was the tough mercenary Space Force or whatever mercenary chick that Vin Diesel flirts with in Riddick. If you like sci-fi, that was a really good one, man.
Yep. So that one actually, too, I guess the funny thing is, if you ever watched Battlestar Galactica, she played Starbuck, I think was the name of her character, and she was kind of a wild, crazy cowgirl, just really hard to control. But in this upcoming show, she's actually like the calm, calculated, cautious character. So it's going to be a real 180 for her between the two different shows. But I mean, it comes out just a couple of days, and I'm running out of shows, so I'm pretty excited to check this one out, gentlemen. How about you?
Yeah, Netflix becoming the quickly, trying to unseat the king, HBO. So the quality of Netflix, man, I remember when the shows were just terrible. It's horrible. You're like a Netflix series? Blah. Netflix original movie? Blah.
Yep. So it's a
Sharknado's it's quality.
Oh, God, I know. That's the bad thing, too.
Back then, like, I just wasted 2 hours. That's why I have a stream is here. We're here to watch it so you don't waste your time.
What was that? Was there a YouTube show called Nostalgia Critic? I remember these things, so you don't have to, kind of a deal.
Hey, you all were talking Netflix. Wasn't Kevin Spacey recently exonerated from the allegations?
I don't know.
Something about the video, they couldn't use the video, or they got rid of the video that everything was going on. I do remember that. Now that you bring that up, I can't remember. Something like that happened where, I mean, from what it sounded like from the get-go, they had a shitload of stuff on him. But at the last second, something
he's
pulled
probably
out.
got a bunch of shit on other people, too. He's gonna torch everybody. If you're taking me down, I'm taking everybody down with me. Jeffrey Epstein style.
Yeah, no kidding. What was it? I'm actually.
We'll see.
Sexual assault charges were dropped. I'm reading
Will
right now.
he get another gig?
Good.
Will he get another gig now?
I think so.
Shit.
Well, I mean, Jeffrey Jones kind of had some trouble. He hasn't gotten much.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think he should. I mean, Kevin Spacey, of course. Well, Jeffrey Jones also a very good actor too.
Yeah,
Kevin
but he was above Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Oh, for sure. He was an A-lister, no doubt.
Yeah. Going back to Seven, I loved him as the killer.
Oh, yeah, and American Beauty.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so
fantastic.
The Life of David Gale was another one that I don't know if a lot of people remember, but I love that film.
There
But
was also one where he was an alien, right? Where he was an alien who was in a mental hospital. He claimed that he was from another planet or something. I can't remember the name of the movie, but he was also good in that one.
I don't know that one.
Nope, that one's lost on me too. And I'm an alien. I'm a sci-fi dude. That one's kind of
that's killing me now. I'm gonna have to look it up.
No, you're good. While you're looking that up, I got a little bit more news. I think we were talking earlier. Was it on Box Office Barflies? You guys talking about the Disney Plus thing is coming up?
Oh, let's hear it.
They just released the date. So San Diego Comic-Con International was just this last weekend, and there's a whole slew of different things that came up. So Marvel and Disney released the names of some of the limited series that they're developing. The first one is The Falcon and Winter Soldier, starring Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, which will arrive in fall of 2020. WandaVision, starring Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff or the Scarlet Witch, and Paul Bettany will reprise his role as Vision, will be airing in the spring of 2021. There will be a show about Loki, starring Tom Hiddleston, which will be in the spring of 2021 as well. In the summer of 2021, Marvel's new show What If will feature plot twists with classic characters. And actually, my understanding with What If is the first episode will be what actually happened or what could have happened when Peggy Carter became Captain America.
Wow,
So that's going to be an interesting one. And then the last thing I got on that, well, Hawkeye, which will star Jeremy Renner, will air in the fall of 2021.
And
so those are the things that I've got so far on that.
That's going to be his Ronin period, I heard, right?
Yep, I heard that
that'll
too.
That'll be cool, man. That's going to be dark.
So that's going to be interesting to see when they're taking, because obviously Vision comes back for that show. So
man, I love me some Vision.
And I wonder if, I mean, spoiler alert, everybody should have seen Endgame. I'm not going to feel bad if I spoil something for you. So at the end of Endgame, or in Endgame, Loki got away with a Tesseract. So I'm wondering if that's the angle they're going to take with the Loki series.
Interesting.
Because obviously in their reality, Loki died, but then they went back in time, and Loki got the Tesseract from Stark when they were trying to get it from Stark Towers during the events of the first Avengers, and he zapped out of there. So that's where I'm wondering if they're going to take that series. That's going to be real interesting to find out.
Vision criminally underused in the MCU. But maybe the show will be great. I mean, Vision has some really cool powers. I always liked the character in the comics when I was a kid. But now let's move on from real-life troubled teenagers to HBO's troubled teenagers.
Yeah. Oh, boy. This was
Euphoria,
a much better episode.
6. Yeah, the episode's actually called, very generically titled, The Next Episode.
Yeah, but that's after the Dr. Dre. That's after the Dr. Dre song.
This was one of the better episodes, I think. After we had kind of two clunkers, this episode was actually really good, man. I liked it. You start with the McKay backstory, right? And it's football, so all three of us should really enjoyed that. You know, McKay, as a young kid, his dad was pushing him in youth football, and all through high school, you know, he was a really good player. And he gets to college, and Danny, what happens to him in college?
Well, he seems to be under the realization that, again, he gets in college and everybody else is good too. I'm not saying that he's not going to succeed, but it feels like he's already come to the conclusion that he's not going to be an NFL player. He was doing math equations.
Yeah.
Yep. And his dad's on him still. His dad kind of feels like Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
He's like, what was the cliche he kept saying to him? Like, when you think that you've reached your potential, like, you can go farther. He kept saying something to him.
Yeah. He had a lot of cliches for his pep talks, and you know, I didn't think he was really riding him that hard. He rode him, but he taught him to be a man. And I think McKay, you know, all that self-doubt, you know, that's kind of why he's been real moody, you know, with Cassie. Do you think that's why he's been real moody, Aaron, with Cassie?
Yeah,
you know, kind of, you know, pushing her away because he's upset about it, maybe thinking he's not going to go pro.
Well, that too, but there was an episode or two ago where they were at Cassie's house and she climbed up on top of him and he said something along the lines of, why is everything got to be about sex? And he was like just trying to tell her about all this different stuff that he's got going on, and she hopped on him, and that's what it seems like, you know, which is great. Out of all the different characters in there, he seems like he's into a genuine relationship and he's got problems, and it's not everything's about fucking. So it's, you know, he said that to her, and he's got those issues. So it could definitely be some kind of, you know, an issue with that. But then he also brought back, you know, later in the episode, videotape kind of thing, the leaked images and leaked videos of her. They kind of brought that back up into it. So you kind of wonder if he's got a little bit of hesitation or has some kind of a judgment towards her with that, which he may be kind of keeping her away regarding that.
I'm certainly not. I agree with what you're saying there. I'm not just trying to be a dick and be like, well,
no, not at all.
But the flip side of that is during the narration of this episode, when Rue's talking at the beginning, she seems to imply that there's a chance that he's not as committed on the football field because he's distracted by Cassie. That Cassie, maybe he's too in love with Cassie. Maybe that's sex and not sex. I don't know, but just genuine feelings. But it was in Rue's narration where she said that Cassie kind of interrupted his, I don't want to quote it, but paraphrasing, maybe interrupted his dedication to his football.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely something that could happen too.
I mean, look at her breast.
Well, I mean, hell, that'll distract you from just about anything, even if you're there not just thinking about him, drive you into a telephone pole or something terrible like that. It's something to, I mean, that's definitely something to consider. There's a lot of different angles with him. It seems like he's one of the more deeper kind of characters. And we were even talking about here with a couple episodes ago where we're not entirely sure. Dan, it may have even been you that said, "What's the point? We don't really know." Yeah, he's basically just a side character, and we're not really sure what it is that he's contributing to the story.
But let me jump in here, and I don't want to drive the show. I don't want to drive the show, but I want to segue into get you all to talk about what we're here to talk about. So we know the dad has been on him and tries to instill discipline and don't let people see you cry, that kind of shit. Right. And so after the attack, that's how he collects himself, I think, is by thinking about the kind of stuff his dad tells him. So that's my question, though. Was he sodomized or was he not sodomized? Because why else would he be crying? He's about to get some ass. A couple guys come running in, and they keep calling him McGay.
There was like 8 of them.
Yeah, they call him McGay, have him on the floor naked, and then they leave, and he's crying. I don't think he's crying if there's not some sort of penetration there.
No, I definitely agree. I'm thankful they didn't show to confirm that, but I kind of think a little bit more than just a startling incident went down right there.
And I think... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think they left it up to the viewer. I mean, I don't know. They left it ambiguous, but
maybe they did.
Do you think they did or didn't?
Maybe they didn't. I'm just playing. Just see what you think. Maybe because remember, as soon as he collects himself, he comes out. No, again, not an unintentional pun. He comes out and has like 60 seconds of doggy style sex with her. Was that his way of reaffirming that, hey, I'm not gay, I'm a man, they may have stuck their fingers in my ass, but look, I'm still throwing you my fucking dick. Like, because I'm a man. You know, because obviously he was soft after that. He has to play with it a little bit. She says something like, do you want me to put it in my mouth?
Yeah.
But he gets it hard himself. He sticks it in, and then he comes real quick. Was that his way of reaffirming, fuck that shit that they just did to me, I'm a man. I'm straight.
No, definitely. Yeah. I think it was at least, the very least, a comfort to him. Be like, okay, well, this could still happen. I'm not like that. Absolutely, I think that's the case.
He had a short doggy style session with Cassie. It was about 5 seconds long, but
does
it
that
took him a little while too to get hard. You know?
But does that confirm that they actually did something with his ass, though?
I think so. I think you're convincing me. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's pretty horrific.
Yeah, like it was mentioned.
Was it other football players?
Yeah, I think so. I think so fraternity guys.
It was his fraternity for sure.
Yeah, because he's a frat pledge or something. Remember early in the season, he took her there, and she was drinking some shit with him, like a
goldfish.
Yeah.
She's drinking goldfish with him. That was the thing too. But I mean, I think so. I think it definitely was football players, and I think unfortunately it was. I think there would have been some kind of a penetration with it, or he wouldn't have had. If it had just startled, he could have just shook it off. But I think something really disturbing happened to him.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna lean towards maybe there was some either close, very close, hard simulation or actual sodomization, but. It's hard to believe that wouldn't get reported, though. Like, we're talking police again, or this whole thing's about reporting crimes and stuff, the whole episode.
Well, shit, dude. You think, tough dude, football player, he's a young guy. Is that something, because that's going to get out if you say something, so do you think he's kind of trying to protect himself, and because he knows the shitstorm that's going to come on him if he's like, hey, by the way, I got raped by a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, he can't say that for his own manhood.
Yeah, 100%. Sure. Nope, I'm right there with you. I think that's exactly what's going on. He wouldn't say anything like that because I think he realizes that this is basically something I'm going to have to deal with, and dealing with Cassie is maybe how he dealt with it, at least in the moment.
Would you want to be in a fraternity where they were like, took liberties with your asshole? I mean,
I wouldn't want to be in a fraternity.
I wouldn't want to be in a fraternity either. I wouldn't want to be in a fraternity either, but especially where they had to play with my ass.
Sure. I don't think that's definitely something that you put that on the brochures. Like, must be okay with ass play.
How do you overcome that?
The girls to be in a fraternity, but just
right.
Yeah, but how do you overcome that? Like the next week, whenever you're doing some frat brother shit, You look over and say, hey, these are the guys that had me down naked last week.
Yeah. Well, they all had
Yeah,
masks
right.
on.
Hey, how's it going?
Dude, they did all
How's
have
it
masks
going,
on.
Jack?
I would have some animosity that I could not overcome with
Oh,
that.
no, certainly not. No. I think that'd be completely justified. I mean, that could be, like I said, but the thing is, they all had ski masks on when they came in. So,
yeah, that's...
they didn't
so
pay
they
too much
probably
attention
would
to that.
deny it and say, oh, it wasn't me, bro.
Sure.
Wasn't
No,
me, bro.
sure.
Wasn't me, bro.
Nope,
Right.
I think that's
and,
right.
Cassie, of course, she tries to chase them off. They had none of it, and their relationship was definitely affected. McKay makes her change out of her Halloween costume for his college Halloween party, but man, I really like that.
True Romance
costume.
is one of my favorite movies in the fucking world. I was so happy that they referenced it. Look, I was sitting beside a girl that has never seen True Romance, and I was just talking about it the day before. No shit. And I made her watch a trailer on YouTube, and I was so disappointed. I was like, the trailer sucks, and I made her watch the James Gandolfini scene. I was like, see, this has got potential. And then here we are watching Euphoria. And I was like, Alabama Whirly, that's True Romance. That's True Romance.
That was funny.
So excited. I was so excited by that.
It wasn't James Gandolfini, though. I think that actor's name was Mike Starr, who looks a lot like Gandolfini.
No, Gandolfini's in True Romance. Gandolfini, David Chase from The Sopranos admitted that scene was the catalyst for making him see him as Tony Soprano.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. I didn't.
Please do it.
He gets hit with the top of the toilet tank.
Yeah. Please Wikipedia it right now.
All right. I thought
I'm not full of shit.
No, I believe you.
I've seen that movie like 30 times. I've seen it like 30 times. I mean, that is 100% James Gandolfini.
And the movie with Kevin Spacey was called K-Pax.
Never saw it. Never even heard of it.
No,
He plays Prot, a patient at a mental hospital who claims to be from a faraway planet. That was a Kevin Spacey film role I remember from back. But
can we also go ahead? I'm sorry.
Why do you think McKay makes Cassie change her great costume, man?
He's so worried about what people are going to say.
Yeah.
It's funny that he even dated her because of the video, because the video was already out there, and he's so worried about his image and things like that. But he took her on despite that. But yeah, like you said, he wouldn't even allow her to wear that Halloween costume because he's worried about people saying, oh, your girl's a whore or whatever. But she's already got the video.
Is he worried about that coming out in case he does go pro?
That's a good question.
Just wondering.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's a video of him, is it?
No, it's her.
I don't see how that would blow back on him at all. At least that's my thing. Oh, you dated a girl with a sex tape. Big.
Of course, she does get to wear her costume the next night at the high school party, where she has a creepy encounter with Daniel, who turns.
That's what I wanted to say. Daniel is such a piece of shit.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, he dumped Kat because she was too fat.
Yeah,
and I love that Kat kind of looks at him. Well, I guess we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But Daniel then goes on and on about, like, do you think I really want to hear what you have to say or what you feel? Do you think any guy does? Because if they tell you that, they're full of shit. They only want to fuck you. I was like, God, he's a caricature of, like, the worst fucking guy that any girl would ever meet.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's his butthurt city that she didn't take him all the way like he wanted to. So he's just trying to be a petty little cunt and fucking hit back at her. Like, that drives me nuts.
How petty is that? Wait for him to get his comeuppance, man. That's coming to... just the whole scene with him just, it was like
nauseating.
Who the hell does he think he is, man? He's
not right.
There's plenty of guys who'd want to get to know Cassie.
We got another Dan that will step in there in a heartbeat, dude.
Cassie, of course, takes it personally.
Maybe I can only speak for my cock, but I've never been like erect and was like, oh, guys, it hurts. It just hurt. What a lame line. He's like, it hurts. My dick is hard. It hurts. I was like, if you really think you're going to get sympathy head because you're complaining about having an erection, I was like, come on.
And he was dressed as Ted Bundy, I think, right? Or
yeah, no, because Kat made a joke about Ted Bundy was taller or something like that.
Exactly.
Right.
Was it Kat or was it?
Kat.
Yeah, it was Kat. No, it was because somebody's like Ted Bundy was taller, and he's like,
right. So? She got to dig in at her old boyfriend.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
But is it implied when he comes out after the failure, the unmitigated failure that he had with Cassie? He comes out and sees Kat putting on lipstick, and they smile at each other. I wonder if she blew him.
Yeah, I wonder.
I'm so happy to see Kat get eaten out, though. It's like she's always like, pleasing the men. It seemed like, I don't want to, again, jump to a conclusion, but it seemed like maybe that was the first time she had received cunnilingus, because
it kind of makes you
pretty
think so.
happy. Yeah, she seemed pretty into it.
Yeah. And how about Ethan, who's the guy who's pursuing her at the party? She kind of tries to get rid of him, but he's having none of it, and that's the right decision. You got to keep trying, and
then he nuts all over himself.
And that was how he was supposed to do it. He doesn't give up, and Kat gave him something of what he wanted. Maybe it wasn't exactly what he wanted.
Look, I'm not some Mac or anything like that. I'm not, but I can say I was fortunate enough to lose my virginity at 14. But even if I hadn't, I've never been so turned on where I could just fucking come just from like eating the woman or looking at her. Like, does that shit really happen?
No.
I don't
Maybe
think
with
it does.
Kat, who knows?
I don't think so.
I don't think any guy could just come like that.
Yeah.
But that's such a movie cliche where the guy comes in like 10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
I've never thought that was plausible in any movie that I've ever seen or anything. Like, really?
Yeah.
I agree, man. That's the same as me. It's totally unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny. The guy comes.
That's just it. Yep. Yeah. Oh, he popped. Okay, well, now what? And he puts you in that awkward situation.
I mean, even as a virgin, I couldn't just fucking come like you press a button.
No. So, speaking of Kat, one of her cash pigs buys her whole Amazon wish list.
There's
right?
4 of them now. 4 of them.
She's got 4 of them. One of them buys her whole Amazon wish list off of Amazon, and I think his name was Master Aid 99 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Master Aid. I think Master Aid it's kind of creepy, but maybe he shows up in another episode. What do you guys think?
I think they really put a lot on that character. But
Right.
they really forced, because she's like, hey, $30, no, $50, no, $300, no. How about I buy everything on your wish list? Like, I think there's something that's going to happen with that one in particular. Yeah.
Right. And let's see. There was at the same party before we talk to like the big stuff, which is involves Nate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Jules, who's getting drunk, and most likely it's because the pressure she feels from being the catalyst for Rue's newfound sobriety. Dan, what do you think? What's up with Jules? Was she affected by what Nate asked her to do before the party, or do you think her being such a big part of Rue's turnaround is too much pressure for her, or a combination of both?
She says something in like old Shakespearean "thou shall" kind of wording when she's in the pool, when she's about to pull Rue in. And the gist of it was like, tonight I don't feel pressure to be in this relationship that I don't want to be in. But she didn't say it like that. It was implied with something. I wish I would have screenshotted the dialogue. But yeah, she obviously isn't happy with it. And I guess maybe Rue knows what happened and isn't happy that she capitulated to Nate, I'm guessing, right? Because in the narration, she said something like, and what she did yesterday. That's before I knew what she did yesterday. So I don't think she would have signed on for that either. I wonder if there's blowback to this. Like, are the police going to find out that Nate's orchestrating all this shit?
We got 2 episodes to find out.
Right.
Jules, right. She was in kind of a weird mood, of course. I took it down to being, Nate, of course, asks her to, to do something. When we get to that in a second. After we talk about Gia and Lexi, who also were at the party. Gia, of course, getting high with one of the twins, and Rue breaking that up quickly, and Lexi wearing a Bob Ross Halloween costume, which Lexi's just a wasted character. Dan, what?
Yeah.
Hey, well, this was a night where she at least facilitated her sister kind of cheating, kind of not cheating, and she did talk to McKay. She was a good sister. Give her that. Like, and Yeah, I thought that that was her biggest role of the season so far, where she, in terms of screen time, I think.
You know, what's funny is I was actually, while that was going on, I'm like, I was actually thinking of Dan. your gripes about what the fuck does she do? And I'm like, well, she's doing a little something now, so it's kind of I mean, who knows? Maybe in the end they've kept her kind of in the wings to build her up to be nothing, but she may end up having a crucial part in, Rue's life, or in some kind of a situation with one of the other different characters, even as just a support system.
This is probably really sleazy, but I'll say it anyway. You know who, in a fictitious way, I would love to fuck their mom. Cassie and Lexi's mom.
Dude, yeah, no, she's totally cougar vibes, man.
Yeah, she is. She's like kind of hammered. And so, she'd be kind of filthy and
for sure. No, definitely. I mean, I think we talked about that the first time she appeared. If we were like, all right, hot or not? But no, there's definitely some cougar vibes there.
Oh, she's definitely hot, man. I can't remember the actress's name, but yeah. So also, I guess we might as well just get down to the big crux of this episode, which is Nate. And of course, first we see the family getting turned away from their favorite restaurant. They're all jazzed up about what macaroni or mashed potatoes or a mac and mash. They're upset they're not going to get their mac and mash. The proprietor of the restaurant tells them, I'll bring it out to your car. Like, that can't sit well with Cal.
That further reiterates what we were talking about, I think 2 weeks ago, that they can't be in Los Angeles because there wouldn't just be one restaurant.
Exactly, yeah.
There would just be one restaurant.
Yep. Yeah, it's more of a smaller town, maybe, I don't know, 20,000. Yeah. But let's talk about what Nate and Maddie are up to. And man, Nate becomes, if there was any doubt before, it's shattered completely, but Nate becomes the villain of this
excited
show. And Maddie and him have got some multiple blackmailing going on here. Nate sneaks into Tyler's apartment again, and blackmails him by to get Tyler to confess to choking Maddie, which Nate is the one who actually choked her at the carnival. Dan,
don't like the storyline. I already told you. Don't like the storyline. Hate the storyline. Anytime I'm watching a show like this, I always focus on what I feel is plausible and what's just not the way a character would react. I do not think that Tyler would capitulate to helping Nate in this scheme of taking the credit for a domestic violence a case. I just don't see it. And he'd be like, especially when he was like, man, I have headaches. You detach my retina. And he goes, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Then, well, I'm not helping you then. If anything, I'll go to the fucking police and tell them you're trying to blackmail me now, and you're the guy that beat me up, and I'm suing you for my medical bills, you piece of shit.
Yeah, it's unrealistic, but I mean, it's a plot device here for us.
Don't like Euphoria, I don't like how he blackmailed Jules either. I think both situations are paper thin, lack substance, and if the police have any salt in them on the show, which they do seem to feel like, well, this is kind of odd that she's come in. So maybe they'll discover that it's all just some teenage bullshit.
Yep, I think that has to be what is happening or is going to happen. The police, if they're worth anything, but police, if they're worth their police salt, then they'll figure it out, and Nate will get his comeuppance.
Jules cries. It's one tear, I think, when she's being threatened with the time that she could serve, as they're obviously exaggerating it to a certain extent, but enough to create a chilling effect of her to know that she could be in deep shit for this false police report, and a tear comes out. If I at home noticed that tear, the fucking investigating officer would have noticed that tear too.
Agreed.
And there's going to be a video of it, so they're going to, you would have to think they would dig in and extrapolate farther into that.
Right, and of course, Jules gets drunk at the party as she, realizes that, she's gone to the police and lied for to save her own ass.
Did Nate give her the photos? Or I guess he would still have copies either way.
Yeah,
so is
I
he going to just keep blackmailing her?
It's a great question. Well, I would assume yes, because Nate's a piece of shit. But
oh my god, but he's so good, dude. Like, and it sounds so wicked, but like he's gotta be one of my favorite characters. He's just that skin crawling, vile, slimy son of a bitch, and he does it with that deadpan. Like, there's nothing you can do about this face.
Well, Maddie's in on it, of course, too. Because they meet at the hotel room.
Yeah.
Still, they're at the party together. Nate is dressed as a convict, right? Escaped convict. He's free from being expelled and kicked off the football team. He's been reinstated in school now,
and he gets this huge ovation when he comes to the party.
Yep.
Which is real life in that sense. Even if he was like all these vile things, like you said a moment ago, that would in turn make him popular in school.
Right, everyone loves a football hero.
Yeah.
And, next week, it looks like we're going to have Cassie's backstory, and she was a ice skater, I think, or ballerina or something. I thought I saw her dancing or ice skating. That'll be good. I like the way they give you the backstory of a character before beginning of every episode.
Yeah,
that's something good. We've got 2 episodes left, and then I Have a Stream will be on hiatus during a football season. It's hard for all of us to get together and do this every week, but we will reconvene for HBO's The Watchmen and probably talk a little bit of Netflix The Witcher with Henry Cavill. But after the next 2 episodes of Euphoria with you 2 guys and me and Joe, hopefully he'll be back next week, and hopefully we can talk him into riding along for the finale of Euphoria.
It'd be great.
And that's the end of the show. Guys, I hope you can make it back next week where we talk Euphoria episode 7.
Well, can we make a predict? We're going to make predictions before we go?
Let's make some predictions.
It looked like somebody got into a car wreck in the trailer for the next week.
I didn't see it. Who do you think?
I couldn't tell, and I saw Rue said something to appear to be talking to Jules. Well, this isn't going to end. It's not going to end good, or something to that. It's not going to end nicely. So maybe that comes to a head. But it looked like somebody crashed, which I don't know who that would have been. Like I'm kind of one thing we should say real quick though. Going back to Lexi, I thought Lexi did provide. It just popped in my head. I'm sorry. The really cool scene where Rue scares the kid dressed as Malcolm X into like being cool to Gia.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I know some motherfuckers from rehab. They're going to kick your ass and try to get. Yeah, and Lexi was there helping facilitating that, so I enjoyed that. But
which
anyway,
was hilarious in a
Bob Ross facilitating the pipe hitting promise. Right.
But I don't know where it's going to go now, because like a few weeks ago, I really felt like something big was going to happen, like someone was going to die, But I don't know. There's only 2 episodes left. I don't know if something like that will happen unless it's going to be used as a cliffhanger.
Yeah, good point. I imagine today I was imagining that we'd be talking about the finale of Euphoria with a big cliffhanger, or a big cliffhanger at episode 7 that leads into a resolution of episode 8. But a cliffhanger in one of these 2 episodes coming up.
Yeah, I think so. But that's why I don't think Rue's going to die, because if you're going to bring it back, you really need her back.
Right. Fair. Right. That is fair. Yep. All right. Well, we've got some great things coming up on Bears Barroom. Fantasy Football Goon returns July 30th. And the Barfly Tailgate returned today. The return of Draft Dr. Phil on 100 Proof was something we got from Aguire last week. And let's see. Shy Fans in the Stands, a new show with Joe Mandel and Greg Braggs Jr. Of course, Draft on Tap will be starting soon with Barrelissimo, Shane Marsaw, Ryan Badgley, and Danny Shimon. All your talk of course, Fantasy Football Goon, myself and Joe Mandel, and the Games Report. That'll be on once a week, and we'll be giving some fantasy football advice on the Barfly Tailgate Show.
I love the Gaines Report. Love the Gaines Report.
Gaines is awesome, man.
He should be playing the father on McKay's novel.
McKay.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I will mention that to him when I talk to him next with Fantasy Football Goon. Thanks again, Aaron and Dan, for joining us. You can follow Dan Aguire at BearsFanDan on Twitter, Aaron Mikulski at AMikulski88 on Twitter, myself, Santucci_John at Twitter, and I Have a Stream Pod on Twitter at Bears Barroom on Twitter as well, and of course, Bears Barroom Radio Network on all of your podcast providers. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.